That's true. Hey, we're good. We're on. We're back with Wilson. Wilson, what's happening? Long time no see.
Yeah, it's great to be back. It's been I've had a wee bit of time off through illness, but I'm back fine to go, and just want to thank Davy Gormley, Scott McLaughlin for the flowers they've sent, and the kind words they've messaged me. So that's been really nice for me too. That's a good start. But I'm glad to be back.
Brilliant. Shankers is on as well. Shankers, how we doing?
I am great, mate. Looking forward to it.
Brilliant. We're also taking questions as well as always, and we're just going to share everything out. If there's anything you want to ask the boys, please let us know and we'll answer everything. We had planned to start with the news, obviously, about Peter Lawwell, but we're going to touch on just over the results over Wednesday. We'll just run them down quickly. Dundee United 1, St Mirren 5. Big result for St Mirren. St Johnstone 0, Aberdeen 0, Ross County 1, Motherwell 2, Celtic 2, Hamilton 0, Hibs 0, Rangers 1, Livingston 2, Kilmarnock 0. But we will start with Wilson. Wilson, Jeremy Frimpong, how impressed are you with that bit of business?
Well, the piece of business is absolutely astounding. I actually think that's what put my heart into cardiac arrest a week ago when I'd heard that another team actually wanted to buy him. And again, to get that money is absolutely incredible. And it's maybe a parting gift from Peter Lawwell to get 11.5 million for a player that, in my opinion, did absolutely nothing to warrant a transfer fee like that. You can say potential, he's quick, but for me, that's all we saw. He was sent off in a cup final. He still hasn't put a cross into the box, So it was staggering, to be honest.
And as well as that, Shankers 11.5 million is the phrase we're hearing. Do you think that's right?
Whether it's right or wrong, doesn't really matter, to be honest. But I think it bodes well for the other players in other clubs in Scotland. Like if that's what the benchmark is, I think teams have been kind of shafted, maybe the word, with transfer fees for the type of player, because that is Scottish football. So if Frimpong's going for that kind of money, of course he's young and there's potential is the word that they'll use for the fee. But I think that bodes well for the likes of Rangers and Celtic to sell their assets in the summer if teams are willing to pay 11.5 million is the talking fee. So if teams are willing to pay that kind of money, I think it only help the clubs try and offload players in the summer.
Yeah, definitely.
For good sums of money.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a question here for Aaron Lyle that we're planning not to touch on this subject, but Aaron's asked the question: do you think Irvine Welsh will get some bother for his comments the other night? If not, do you think he should? Wilson, we'll start with you with that. What was your thoughts on that incident?
Again, I mean, and it's kind of dangerous precedent to set. I don't think particularly Irvine Welsh will get into bother or care. It could possibly be Hibs because it was on their official channel. So they might just not invite Irvine Welsh back on. And again, we've spoken about this off air, about offensive terms and all that. And I'm quite sure Alfredo Morelos has no care what Irvine Welsh thinks of him, to be honest. I just think things are still obviously very tense this season with everything that's been going on. A lot of folk would take offence, I think as I say, I don't think Alfredo Morelos or Rangers are particularly taking offence, but they have to come out to say it's unacceptable for what he said. But as I say, I think it'll be more. He won't be back on Hibs TV for a spell, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get into the big talking point that we heard at 7:19 this morning. Shankers, what was your thoughts this morning when you heard Peter Lawwell was leaving Celtic after 17 years at 7:20 this morning? Weird time to make that statement.
It was. I was just getting up for my work, and as you do before you go out there, your bed, just scrolling through Twitter and that to see what's happening in the day. There's always something new in Scottish football every day, especially this season. And surprised, I must admit, at the timing. It was just like a random Friday morning throughout the season, and it's announced. I was surprised at the timing, but I'm not. But I'm no surprised that he'll be leaving. I think the fans have made their opinions heard. Have been very vocal with protest banners, etc., etc. So I'm not surprised the decision, but maybe too little, too late for some supporters is could be the saying.
Wilson, did you have any idea your pal Peter was doing this? You last spoke to him?
I'd spoken to him through the week, and he mentioned that, and I was trying to convince him, not to be honest. But again, you can be sceptical about it. And I think if he'd waited to the end of the season, no one would have batted an eyelid, to be honest. But is it just another deflection tactic to take away, the terrible season on the field as well as off the field? Now, as I say, we're talking about Peter Lawwell rather than possibly Celtic's performance midweek or Celtic's what they're going to do tomorrow, etc. So strange timing. I would have thought they would have given it to the end of the season, and then let this new guy have the summer, etc. But maybe this guy's got a bigger job on his hands than we thought.
And obviously, we'll touch on Dominic Mackay's going to be the replacement. We'll touch on him in a few minutes, but I want to ask as well, Celtic fans, how will you remember Peter Lawwell? Will you remember the 16 years of success, which saw 12 trophies in a row, 9 titles in a row, a lot of money been brought in profit for players? Or will you remember the kind of difficult last couple of seasons? Wilson, if you were a Celtic supporter, what kind of legacy does Peter Lawwell leave?
What do you mean if he was a Celtic?
I mean, again, speaking from a neutral and a fan of a provincial club, I think you have to look at the remarkable things that he achieved at Celtic. But again, just as we were kind of talking off air, you're more remembered, for your mistakes and your errors than you are for your successes. Mm-hmm. Now, as I say, 29 trophies in a 16-year period is a great achievement. But again, if you look at this season, this is what it boils down to. If this had been 5, 6, 7 in a row, I don't think there'd been such the absolute meltdown and outcry that there has been.
Yeah.
And you can look at Neil Lennon in this as well. Neil Lennon is going to be remembered for the guy that messed up 10 in a row. Mm-hmm. Despite winning 5 leagues as a player and as a manager. And again, and to even things out, it was the same, not maybe the same, but similar to Ali McCoist. Ali McCoist was one, if not the greatest Scottish ever footballer, right? And he gambled his reputation and feeling with the Rangers fans by going on as manager at a kind of torrid time. And if anyone was going to, do it, the fans would have loved Ali McCoist to do it.
Yeah.
And I still think, and again, Mark will be able to correct me, I still think there's a few Rangers fans out there that have a bit of angst about Ali McCoist, because he didn't fail as a manager, but he wasn't held in such high regard. And as I say, Neil Lennon's a Celtic legend. If you spin this on his head, and Ali McCoist was the Rangers manager, and he had the season that Neil Lennon's had at Celtic, the punters would have reacted exactly the same. And I think these guys have legacies. And again, Peter Lawwell has done wonders in terms of transfers, a financial footing. But again, I go back to, I thought Peter Lawwell's job was on the line when there seemed to be a conflict with Brendan Rodgers over the John McGinn signing, and at the time it was rumoured about the disco lights becoming more important than signing John McGinn. And I thought, well, if it was me, if it was my decision, I would have got rid of Peter Lawwell and kept Brendan Rodgers. Mm-hmm. But yeah. As I say, but I think, unfortunately for the guy, I think his legacy is tainted. But in my opinion, I think he's done a remarkable job, a real top CEO job.
Could this be a case of can almost be careful what you wish for if you're a Celtic supporter because of the job he's done? Maybe you don't know how well he's done until he's away, and then you realise. I know, obviously, with the pressures this season and stuff like that, and it looks like Rangers are going to win the league, and obviously it'll be on Lawwell and Lennon and Desmond's head, but you don't know that you're not going to just flip a switch and everything's going to go all rosy in the summer again because you've got a new guy in charge. I Celtic fans, as I said, could be careful what you wish for. Definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree, Mark. And as I say, I always thought that. And again, going back to when Rangers had their issues and changing managers and all that, Kashina was in, McCall was in, Warburton. None of these guys were given like a proper go at it because the pressure is so intense at the Old Firm to topple the other one. And as I say, and I've mentioned on this programme before, this fella, Dominic Mackay, has some PR job and some names to bring in to try and sell out that stadium next season. Fingers crossed the fans get back in. Mm-hmm. And that's what my worry is. Celtic are going to have to go of the Brendan Rodgers, level or ilk to get 60,000 season tickets sold next season.
That's what I think too. This guy's almost got the pressure of a marquee kind of signing as a manager and players now to win the support. I don't think just announcing this guy will win the support back straight away. It's all on him now to who he brings in. So it's not just gonna, as I said, it's not just gonna be a flip of a switch and everything's gonna be okay again.
I've wrote down some of Peter Lawwell's pros and cons, and we'll start off with the pros. These are some of the players that Peter Lawwell sold for a profit since he took over, and I'll give you the prices as well. Stilian Petrov to Aston Villa, 6.5 million. Aidan McGeady to Spartak Moscow, 9.5 million. Ki Sung-young to Swansea, 6 million. Victor Wanyama to Southampton, 10 million. Gary Hooper to Norwich, 5 million. Fraser Foster to Southampton for 10 million. Virgil van Dijk to Southampton for 9 million. Stuart Armstrong to Southampton for 7 million. Moussa Dembele to Lyon for 19 million. And Kieran Tierney to Arsenal for 25 million. When you look at that on paper, that is a very, very good return. Near enough, just over 100 million and a lot of good players. So you can, although Peter Lawwell might leave a bad legacy in the past couple of seasons, see his transfer record has been brilliant, Wilson, to be honest with you.
And Frimpong for 11.5.
And Frimpong for 11.5. That's the best deal yet.
That's the best bit of business.
I think they should have a statue at Parkhead named after him if he's getting 11.5 for Frimpong, to be honest. But again, no, I don't think anyone's doubting Peter Law's credentials to how to run an effective business. And again, I think it was possibly highlighted that for some seasons there wasn't a challenge from Rangers. But this is where I think the downfall has started at Celtic. Now, you've read a list of names out, and I think that's covered possibly Lennon, Dyler, Rodgers, back to Lennon. Right. Yeah. If you look at the position now, and this is what I would like to know, who signed these players and who scouted and who watched for us to go from getting the likes of Armstrong. I mean, I know Armstrong, Dundee United, Foster originally. Who was getting these guys in to what's been brought in now?
Yeah.
Now, I watched an interesting, well, I wasn't really interested. I was watching Sky Sports News, the transfer show this morning, and the fellas, I think it was Michael Bridges' name, were talking about the two Bournemouth lads that are going to sign for Rangers.
Yeah.
And the first, they mentioned it 2 or 3 times. I just picked up on it. And it was a comment from Ross Wilson about the multiple meetings he's had with Steven Gerrard about players. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, you're looking at that saying, oh, there's a guy he's to go out and get players and he's running it past the manager, because that cannot be happening, because there's not two folk in this world that think Barkas is a good goalkeeper. There's not two folk that think Ayeti's a good signing, Klamala's a good signing. So it was showing the difference in the discord that's happening at Celtic. And I think, was Peter Law possibly losing a bit of control? Was Peter Law saying to Lennon, oh, I need to do what Nicky Hammond says, or was it, I need to do what Neil Lennon says and Nicky Hammond not getting his own way? Because the signings have cost Celtic 10 in a row. There's absolutely no doubts about that. And if Peter Law has to take the credit for the deals with Armstrong, Foster, the names you've just mentioned, then he has to take the criticism for the mess that it is just now.
Yeah. And as well as
they signed, sorry.
On you go, Santos.
They signed the boy Ben Davies,
yes,
I think, for Preston in a pre-contract. So there's a deal that's been done with the chances that why would Lennon okay that deal when the chances are he's not going to be there in the summer? So that deal's obviously just been done by someone. If you know what I mean? I wouldn't imagine Lennon will get a say in any signings at this time of the window unless he's going to be the manager next season. But surely that can't happen.
But again, and don't get me wrong, Ben Davies might turn out to be Virgil van Dijk, okay? But it's hardly selling season tickets, that signing, is it, really?
I know.
I think they're looking at the guy Davies because there'll be some players definitely not there next year. But it's hardly, whereas, again, you had the signing of Shane Duffy, and I know it's not worked out, but he was a Premiership player, captains his country. You thought that's a good signing. Let's get in. It's not worked out. Of course it hasn't. We're all aware of that. I'm quite sure Shane Duffy's aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just and I know there's the financial restrictions in Scotland, but I just feel Celtic and Rangers should be looking at guys from, but no disrespect, but bigger and better teams in Preston.
I've also written down as well, obviously, a couple of more things Peter Lawwell can take a bit of credit for. Three last 16 appearances in the Champions League, and obviously the new training ground, Lennoxtown, which is a brilliant training ground that's been installed there in the Celtic way, obviously been redone. So Peter Lawwell does leave a legacy of a few really good things. I'm just going to touch on a few things that maybe tarnishes that ever so slightly. As you mentioned, the John McGinn scenario, but that wasn't the first time that had happened. Did you remember the Stephen Fletcher incident a few years before that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that does strike to me that wasn't the first time that had happened. When Brendan Rodgers left, could they have secured 10 in a row by appointing a big name instead of Neil Lennon?
But again, you don't. Again, we look at it from outsiders' point of views. But if that's what 10 in a row means to Celtic fans, etc., surely Peter Law had the tools to make sure Brendan Rodgers stayed. Now, again, Brendan Rodgers, is a wonderful manager, and there's no doubts about that. But could he not have given another 18 months and be told, sign who you want? We'll give you this, secure this 10 in a row. That would have been if I had been Peter Law, that would have been my objective, because it's the only thing. And as I say, you've seen the meltdown since it's not going to happen. So Peter Law's objective, and this is where, and again, Brendan Rodgers comes out, big Celtic fan, Celtic's in my blood, blah, blah, blah. At that time, he needed to come out and say, I want to go and ply my trade in the Premiership. It was almost if it was a midnight flit. Mm-hmm. Now, if Peter Law, could you see that of happening, with Daniel Levy at Spurs, at such an important time? And that's where Celtic need to kind of base themselves on these big Premiership teams, because they're two of the biggest teams in the world in terms of support, and that's where they need to be, I think. And I know they moan about playing Ross County 4 times a year, having no disrespect to these teams, but Celtic need to be shopping in these markets and getting these managers in, Do
you think Law was going away regardless? If it wins 10 in a row, quadruple treble, what more can he do almost? And then if they don't win it, then he has to go away because he never achieved it. So I just seen a thing in the news just as I looked there. He says he'd been discussing it since last year, but wanted a good handover almost. So it's as if it was happening this year anyway, whether he won 10 in a row or not.
Yeah, but again, they're going to come out and say that. Now, if that guy leaves and they've won 10 in a row, he's, as I say, there'd be a statue after him. They'd be clambering over him. Now that I mean, I think he'll probably. I think he'll retire from Celtic, but I think he'll get another job. I can see him ending up somewhere else. But he's gambled this season, and the gamble's not worked. But then I look at it in the way he has given Neil Lennon money to spend, and it's the signing. So you can look at it. I mean, let's not go back over the whole PR disaster of Dubai, but I can't see. Apart from that, I can't see a lot of blame from Peter Law what's been on the pitch, because he has given Neil Lennon money to spend while there's no crowds coming in, okay, and it's failed. And as I say, I don't think the punters will rest until Neil Lennon's out.
Yeah, let's move on to Dominic Mackay, the replacement. We'll just tell you a bit about his background as we know so far. He's been the Chief Operating Officer of Scottish Rugby since 2008. From all reports, he has a media background, so that suggested me that we could see a kind of improvement in PR, because I imagine that would be a kind of background he would want to to get right. He's developed a good profile of sponsors and increased revenue with Scottish Rugby, which is only a good thing possibly for Celtic. One of his specialties is fan engagement, which I think has been lacking with Celtic, so that could be another avenue he might be able to fix. Shankers, what do you think Dominic Mackay faces when he goes into Celtic? What does he need to change first of all?
The manager, first of all, but I think that'll almost be set in stone kind of thing. Just with if he, I suppose this guy has had a slight inkling that he'll be getting this job. So if he's looking at what's going on at Celtic, whether it's fans at the ground protesting or whatever, he knows, right, it's clear that to get the fans on my side, I need to get rid of the manager and appoint a new kind of, as I said before, marquee signing. So I think he'll have that in his mind. But the thing I was saying earlier was why the rugby side there. I know I just know about football and the players and all that. I take it doesn't really matter what your background is as long as you've got a kind of chief executive background.
Yeah, you're running a business.
Yeah,
you know, you're running a business. His job's to balance the books in effect, and as is just now, Neil Lennon's job's to get a winning team on the park. You know, and you discuss how much money you're going to spend this year, player budgets, wages, salaries, etc. You know, and as you say, I think the first thing is, you know, mend a broken support. There's a big discord between the club and the fans just now, and that's, as I say, it's going to be some PR job to get them back on side. But again, everything boils down to results on the park, and for Celtic Rangers beating each other. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. See, this guy, is he having nothing to do with anything from now? Is it in the summer the takeover is, and he's taking over for the summer?
31st of June. 31st of June.
A gradual.
The day when Peter Lawwell's retiring. We'll touch on obviously the management situation later on in the show, because we're going to do a special segment on the managers. We've just got time for a couple of things on Facebook. As always, get your questions in and we'll answer them. Scott Cleland puts Wilson for PM. Think you could do that job?
Well, I tell you what, he's the best of the Clelands. Let me tell you that. He's a lovely man. He may know a bit about Dominic Mackay. Scott's a rugby fellow. Yeah. He's a very good man, unlike his brother.
Scotty McLaughlin, Greg Stewart, player manager at Celtic. I'm hearing you'd be buzzing.
Well, that would only benefit everybody. Scott is definitely one of the best players in the SPL. If not the world. So gladly, I think that'd be a good career move for him if he's going to get into coaching, as he hasn't been given a chance at Rangers.
Shank, there's a question here for Stephen Shankland. What do you think of Rangers topping Helicopter Sunday with Red Arrow Sunday? Just explain what he means by that, because it's quite fascinating.
I think it was last night. There's been a kind of crowdfunding, as you say. I think Wilson started it.
Took money out
to get the Red Arrows to fly over Glasgow, I presume, on the day that Rangers lift the league. Fingers crossed that that's happening. So they've crowdfunded. I think the figure was something like 14.5 grand. That's what you need, but it's obviously, I think the applications went in to apply for it. It's just whether, I'll be surprised if it happens, but that's it kind of thing. Just a kind of, because obviously supporters can't be in the ground, so I think it's just a kind of something like that. But I'll be surprised if it happens.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. Sorry, Scott. I've spoke to you guys about this on our chat as well. Because of the situation we're all living in just now, I do, and Facebook will be meltdown probably when I say this. I actually genuinely feel sorry for the supporters that were going to win the league this year, whether it was 10 or whether it was 55, because they're not going to be able to have any sort of celebration as they would do. And again, what will happen, what I think will happen, is if thousands of Rangers fans start to gather, you know, it's going to end up in trouble. The same it would be if it was at Parkhead. These fans are going to gather because they want to celebrate. They want to see the trophy. They can't get into the stadium to see them even parade it or lift it. And I think the news is probably going to be about the behaviour of supporters that are desperate to see their team win the league, rather than the actual winning of the league. And that's what I've been consistent with that all along. This situation with Celtic has got nothing to do with them losing the league.
No.
Rangers have went, was it 26 games unbeaten?
Mm-hmm.
That is what won the league. Celtic haven't lost the league. Rangers have won it by being better.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to look at. And as I say, I genuinely, and I feel sorry for the Rangers supporters come, whether it be the end of March, start of April, when they're crowned champions, and they're not going to be able to celebrate without, unfortunately, some negative publicity on it, because they're not going to stand down, at the Govan Road, standing 2 metres apart. And that's unfortunate as, and it's historic for them. It would be historic for Celtic, but it's not going to happen, and I think it's going to take some negative press there.
See, just on the celebrations, like of this isn't. I'm not just talking about this year. Do you think it's quite sad that Liverpool winning the league and that there would be an open top bus round the city and that? Do you think it's quite sad that couldn't happen in Glasgow just because of obviously the hatred and stuff like that? Like, I know Celtic had an open top bus when they won the treble, but it's probably for the end of London Road for Barrowfield to the park. But like, do you think it's quite sad just because the way it is the way it is in Glasgow, like they couldn't have a parade around the streets just because of how kind of volatile it is, basically.
And it was the same, and I think obviously, with Liverpool as well last year, it was such a historic thing because they hadn't won it for so long. Slightly different if it had been a United, Chelsea, Man City had won it. I don't think there'd been much furore, but for the generation, probably our generation of Liverpool fans, never to have seen them win the league. I know some of them did go out, but because it's about the fans at the end of the day. And as I say, I would have felt sorry for either set of fans, once this was announced.
Yeah. Shankers, got a question here for Alison. There's no denying the change Dominic Mackay has made at the Scottish Rugby Union, but it's also taken him 10 years to make the changes big enough worth noting. Did you know she was saying that question?
She works for Scottish Rugby, so but I never knew she was saying that. So she her and her mum were texting this morning about it because they know. Well, I don't know if they know him, but they know of him. So I think they were surprised when he was announced at Celtic.
You not get one for an interview?
I'll need to speak to her after and see if she can pull a few strings.
I can see Shankers changing teams when he gets hit with all the complimentary tickets up in Glasgow.
I can't see Dominic Mackay's first exclusive interview or getting the job is Mark Wilson's in the same screen as him.
I'd be sitting beside him. Marvin him.
Another question as well for Stephen Nicol. With Morelos facing another ban, does Cedric Itten now have a chance to secure a starting role even when Morelos return? I really like Itten. I think Itten could be a big player for Rangers. And we'll touch on why I think it could be next season when we go into our wee segment. We'll touch on Morelos quickly. Wilson, what do you think about the incident?
I think you're daft if you don't think it was a red card. But again, I'm going to hark back to this, okay? And I've done it on this show, and I did get some pelters for it as well. Yes, I think everyone agrees it was a red card as a stamp. I genuinely don't know what the referee is looking at. And again, to miss something as glaring as that, and it was the same with the fella that refereed the elbow against Dundee United, the one Scott Brown's one at Hamilton. There was, again, I think, I didn't see the end of the game, but there was Darren McGregor seemingly stamped on my Rangers players. And this is why I'm a big advocate of VAR. I mean, I know they crack up down south about the offsides, but VAR's there to make the right decision and take a bit of pressure off the referee. Now, whatever the referee's seen, he's not deemed that a red card, which I find bizarre. So if Morelos is going to be punished, okay, sure, that referee needs punished because he has missed that. He's not reacted to someone endangering an opponent as much as Morelos has endangered their opponent. And I think these referees are getting away, and I think it's been heightened this year with the amount of decisions they've got wrong. And it's, again, I know it's about a trial by sports scene, but they need to be able to come out and say, but I don't get in that situation the referee's position. There's no players in front of him. He's looking directly at the incident, and he's not seen it or reacted to it. I find it incredible. So as much as Morales, he's going to get cited, he's going to get a ban. The referee should be getting banned as well for that, in my opinion.
I seen that. See, when you see like the still image of the photo, the fourth official and Clancy are both a perfect eye line, perfect view of it. And I seen a thing. If the referee doesn't think, if the referee's got a perfect view, it's not as if he's looked away and something's happened, like off the ball or something like that. He's got a clear view, so if he doesn't think it's anything there and then it shouldn't be cited. But I totally agree. It is a red card, and I don't think anybody can argue with it. I know I've seen a lot of folks saying about Darren McGregor's is the same. So if Morelos gets a ban, then so should he. I don't know if his is as obvious as maybe Morelos's. I would agree. Somebody else spoke on the TV. I can't really remember, but in fact, it was on the Super Scoreboard. It was Mark Wilson, and he says that you can see Morelos going into the stamp, whereas McGregor's tried to he's actually tried to, it's as if he's got to try and put his feet down on the ground, and he's put it onto his leg. So I can't really see where people are coming from that they're both the same. I think Morelos is definitely a red.
The Porteous one in Jack's worse than the McGregor one.
Can't really remember that one, to be totally honest.
I don't know. I saw it in
Porteous is challenge about 30 seconds into the game.
Yeah,
see if he catches somebody with that. Get 2 months.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I don't get the whole intent and all that, because I said you had Scott Browns at Hamilton, you've now got Morelos, you've now got McGregor, and you can punish one out the 3.
I know.
That's the issue for me.
There's not been consistency for years.
I'd seen wee bits of the first half, and I'd text you during the first half and saying, "Oh, kid, no, that's a straight red, blah 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 blah." Now, Chris Boyd, as soon as he was interviewed at half time, Chris comes out and says, "That's a red card. What is he thinking?" Blah blah blah. And my point to use was, see if Celtic were in the same points and were beating Hamilton by that time, would there be such a call for that's a red card, or would there be some sort of defence coming out? And I know Mark mentioned about Andy Walker and Ian Crocker. You were right. They must have mentioned it about 15 times.
Somebody counted it. It was something like 18 times or something.
It was
incredible. Even when he scored, it was like, even at the end of the game, it was like Morelos scored the goal, but should have been on the park.
I tell you what, as soon as he wasn't sent off, I would have bet 5,000 Rangers fans put money on to score the first goal. And because that always happens, I think that always happens. You think, oh, he should be after the party. He comes up and scores the first goal. Now, again, see if there'd been fans in there, it ended up the same as the cup final. I think they would have been going absolutely crazy about it. But
I know,
again,
he's been a fan, right? But and I've not just been totally biased with Rangers or anything. That it is totally different to when any other player gets involved in an incident than what Morelos does. And I would 100% say this if it was the other side of Glasgow as well. But every incident, and I know he doesn't help himself at times, I definitely agree with that. But it is, see, every single thing he's involved in, it's highlighted to the hilt. It's not, it's 18 times or something the commentators mentioned it the other night. Everybody knows it was a red card.
Yeah,
I don't think there was any argument about that.
But Wilson's point's interesting there, though. Wilson's point's interesting there. Should the referee not be getting more of the flack?
The flack? Well, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree.
But on Mark's point there now, again, I know we don't like to talk about English football, but I used to notice this all the time, and this goes back years and years. See, when it was leading up to a European Championships or a World Cup, see that some of the tackles that Shearer, Terry, Lampard, Beckham, Gerrard got away with in the Premiership because they didn't want to be sending off the England players. Now, again, and I know Shankers was probably celebrating, but remember Shearer's stamp on the head of Neil Lennon?
No, I was too young, but I have seen it back. Aye.
You know, that went unpunished. And he was cited, and it still went unpunished because I'm quite sure he's went, well, see if you ban me for 4 games, I'll not be playing in your daft Euros for your national team. And that's it. Now, John Terry, one of the best centre-halves England's ever produced, went from 2 full seasons without getting a red card. I think he went a season, picking up 2 bookings. And he was a great player, but look at the way he played.
Mm-hmm.
That, and I genuinely think if Ryan Porteous was a Scotland captain, do you think he'd get booked and sent off as much as he does? Probably not, because he'd be protecting him. And I find it bizarre, but you're right about Morelos. Absolutely. I think it is heightened, but I think that's happened to a number of players over the years.
See, the thing is, you can't really argue with any of the yellows and reds that he's had this season. Most of these reds are come for 2 yellow cards, just stupidity. But you can't really argue with any of the red cards. So I'm not saying there are no red cards, but I'm just saying the way it's highlighted when he is sent off is like twice as much as what any other player is.
Yeah, definitely. But let's move on to the subject. We're passing this on to Shankers. Shankers has got his own wee segment here, and we're just gonna give the floor to him here.
No, just when we were speaking about the likes of Frimpong going away in this window and getting sold for a good sum of money, I was just speaking to you in the chat in the WhatsApp, and I thought it would be good to have a wee look, take down both squads and try and see who we think will still be here come next season, and who. I know we've probably got a rough idea, and so people watching know who's going to get offloaded in the summer and who probably wants away. But I just thought it'd be a good wee bit for us to do and try and hazard our guess and see who'll still be at the 2 Old Firm clubs come the summer. So we'll start with the managers before we go into the players. Do we think Steven Gerrard will still be a Rangers manager come next summer?
Yes.
Wilson? No.
No.
Any particular reason?
And I'm not doing that because folks say he's a Celtic player. What my argument is, right? And again, and when I've got my picks here for the Rangers squad, I'm basing it on that I don't think he'll be the manager. And the reason I'm saying that is, and again, it's as was mentioned earlier, Peter Lawwell, Gerrard's stock is peak at the moment, and even more if he goes out and wins the Scottish Cup as well, which is a realistic possibility. Now, I know it's different because there's no fans in. Liverpool have stuttered recently. They'll still be there or thereabouts when the medals get handed out at the end of the season. I've noticed now. I genuinely think probably the only way he's going to go is to Liverpool, right? And I've noticed over the past kind of 2-3 months, I think Klopp's starting to get a wee bit agitated with things, which tells me he's maybe not 100. And I know he's lost a lot of players for injury, but I think he did go at the comment or the interviewer after the Brighton game saying it was far too much to ask him to play Thursday night and Saturday morning or Wednesday night, Saturday morning, whatever it was. And then 2 weeks later, he played Wednesday night, Saturday morning, won both games, and it wasn't mentioned. I think some of his interviews have been a bit prickly. So what I'm getting at is if Klopp doesn't win anything this year, and Gerrard wins the league, Klopp's already won the league, he's won the Champions League, he's been in 2 finals, he's done a remarkable job. Will they think, right, let's get Steven Gerrard? Because again, is Gerrard going to get money to spend? It comes to pre-season. I mean, I don't know, did they have to play any qualifiers in the Europa League? 1 maybe, if they win the league?
I think it's 2.
Right? So therefore, and I know Celtic have suffered this over the last. Gerrard, I know they've been excellent in Europe as well. Don't get into the Champions League, okay? And then again, it's maybe not a 50-50 to who wins the league again. Are Liverpool going to wait that long and wait till this time next year? Celtic have possibly went box office, won a treble. Gerrard's stock then lowers again. Think, well, are we going to replace him? Now, I think if they're going to make a replacement, it'll be in the summer. And I think he'll go with Rangers fans' best wishes. I don't doubt that for a minute. But while his stock's high, if he, I don't know why he would, but if he was, offered Newcastle or Leeds or any of these teams, I would think Liverpool have said, you need to prove yourself in this league before we give you this big gig. You know, and that's where my worry lies. I think it has to be time to perfection for him to go into Anfield. I really do. And as I say, on the back of his success this season, because the league's already over, that's why I think he'll be away.
I just think the Champions League could be he's had 3 seasons where he's took Rangers through 4 rounds of the Europa League. He wanted to test himself in the Champions League, and there's no pressure on him next season. There's no pressure on him next season because of if he wins the league this season. Because
there's no pressure on him in terms of, you know, when the league is stopped in a row. The pressure becomes individual to him because let's be honest, he wants that Liverpool job eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course.
So the pressure turns on him, not necessarily Rangers.
Do you not think the whole thing just recently with Frank Lampard might slightly put him off jumping at the chance of a job of that size at this stage of his career? Because it'll be a wee while yet before Lampard gets a gig at Chelsea's magnitude again, just because what's obviously happened there. He'll maybe need to go down a wee bit, maybe to Championship or whatever again, maybe even Celtic. We'll probably come on to that later. But do you not think that will maybe put him off? I know I'm not saying he's going to go for Rangers straight to Liverpool, but Liverpool maybe looking for a stepping stone. But if that job comes up, I think he'll be there or thereabouts for it.
He might only get one chance, so Matt.
Aye, that's the thing. That's the thing. Do you think that's what will put him off? Because a year and a half down the line, see with Rangers, he's got 2 or 3 years to build. Do you think if he got that Liverpool gig, surely they would have to give him 2 or 3 years to stamp his own kind of thing on.
I 100% agree with what you're saying, but Liverpool don't run the way Chelsea run themselves.
Aye.
You know, Liverpool unless Liverpool want him the job, he's a legend down there, player, etc. Liverpool are not given the job because he was such a great player. Because Liverpool they gave John Barnes the job or Peter Beardsley. You know, previous. They're giving him a job based on his managerial credentials. And as I say, you might only get one opportunity to be asked. Now, I'm sure if you said to Frank Lampard, give yourself 5 years at Derby and we'll make you the Chelsea manager for 5 years, he'd have been right away. Yeah. But he was offered that Chelsea gig after not great success at Derby. He thought he could do it. And again, he didn't do a terrible job, but he didn't do a great job. And he's paid for it. And that's where I think these guys that are elite competitors, Gerrard's going to bite your hand off for the Liverpool job. Knowing he'll get 3 seasons, I would think.
Do you not see the comparisons with Souness when Souness took the Liverpool job after leaving Rangers? Like that wee thing of did you think though when Souness went to Liverpool he was going to be a success?
Yeah, because he was unbelievable up here. I know he spent a lot of money up here, but again, absolutely unbelievable player at Liverpool. Mm-hmm. And an unbelievable manager at Rangers. So he was the obvious choice at the time. You guys are a wee bit young to remember it, but he was the obvious choice. And then he obviously had his heart condition as well, which affected him. But he was the obvious choice. And that's what I'm saying. Gerrard's the obvious choice. Obviously, the player thing speaks for itself. He's now proved himself as a manager. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what league you win. Winning a league's a big thing. Mm-hmm. And obviously the press it gets for stopping 10 in a row, etc. In the first league that Rangers have won since 2012 or 2011. He's now got that managerial, credential to go into that job.
Mm-hmm. Right, Celtic. I think this is unanimous. We'll go on to who we think will get the job and who could be good names for the job. But we all agreed on Neil Lennon will be the manager come next season.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
I didn't think that would take long. Goalkeepers. We'll start at Rangers. McGregor and McLaughlin have only really been the 2 that featured, so that's only really the ones that I've noted down.
I think McGregor.
I think they, in my opinion, I think they'll both be there. But the only thing in the back of my mind I'm thinking is McGregor's came back, won the league. He's not getting any younger. Could you come back? Go right. Been here for 3 years again. Won the league. Retire on a high note.
I think
is
McGregor,
that an option, or do you think he'll play on?
McGregor will play on until we can. I think McGregor, McLaughlin will both stay, and I think as well McCrory could be the one to keep an eye on, because when McGregor eventually retires, I think there'll be a lot of coaching towards McCrory to try and make McCrory the successor. I think McGregor's still fit. McGregor can play another 2 or 3 years easy.
You can see by the way he plays in that as well, with the hunger and all that is still there for him as well.
And I really like McLaughlin as well. I think McLaughlin's a more than capable deputy. So I think that
definitely
both of them. I would keep both of them. Let McCrory come through. I think he's doing well at Livingston, so let him come through.
I think McGregor will retire.
I've got a wee fear in myself.
I mean, don't. And I've said on here before, I don't think he's had to wash his strip this year after games. And he is, without doubt, probably, in my opinion, again, the best goalkeeper Scotland's ever produced. But it was just, and I didn't even think about it at the time. And the commentator said he celebrates his 39th birthday. And I know goalkeepers can maybe play a bit longer, but I think Alan McGregor's thinking, I've come back, I've done this, I've stopped 10 in a row or whatever, going to go away with a league winners medal, at 39, does he want to have a season where it kind of catches up with you? Now, as I say, you're right about McLaughlin being an able deputy, and I will be sad to see Alan McGregor, because I think he's absolutely world-class goalkeeper, but I think he might go. Or retire, put him down as a retire.
Retire. Before we move on to Celtic, see just what you said there about playing on next year, and it's not as if he's literally probably been one of Rangers' best players this season. It's not as if he's not been tested or anything. You're saying it's obviously tongue in cheek saying about not getting stripped dirty. There is times, say that Old Firm game, that save. I mean, that is world class. What you said. It's not as if he's kind of just plodding along the year. He's going out in a high with having a remarkable season. So I'm with Wilson. I think he could see the end for McGregor at the end of the season. Celtic, this is an interesting one because 3 goalkeepers have been, shall we say, heavily involved this season. No many teams rotate as much as this season. So we'll start with Barkas.
Keep
4.5 million or 5 million. Surely they have to justify that by keeping him. I don't think the way the season's been, anybody would even want to try and buy him off Celtic for any kind of sum similar to what they bought him for. So I think Barkas will be staying.
A couple of reasons I think he'll keep. Firstly, if you sell him in the summer, what do you don't get 4.5 million back. And secondly,
no, definitely not.
I think Neil Lennon all night, I think, threw him under the bus. I thought it was nonsense.
I think it's ridiculous because he come out and says before the cup final, it was was it
before the Rangers game? Yeah, it was before.
No, it was because the Barkas played the cup final against Hearts.
No, it was Hazard.
Hazard played.
It must have been the Rangers game then. He come out and says that because of the price tag and that, he wants to make him his number one and everything. And then a few weeks down the line, there's too much pressure and stuff like that.
But see my thing with that, I see for especially a goalkeeper, saying that out in the media, does that not just make his confidence lower?
It probably does. He said he's.
I don't think confidence is the issue. It's his Pompadour horns.
The thing that gets me about the situation is Barkas is it. He got dropped all night there, but then it's Bain that comes in and it's no Hazard. It's like a merry-go-round. They're just all having a game each. It's as if I seen somebody one at a Celtic fan posting, Ken, they just go in, pick up the ball and he's playing. That's what it's almost as if it's like. I just don't get it. So Barkas, is he staying?
I think he'll be put out on loan.
Right, Hazard. I think he'll stay.
Yeah, but what's the point of him?
Yeah. I know. I think Bain could be away.
So could that.
My reason, I think he's a good enough goalkeeper to play first team football elsewhere. I think he's probably the best of the 3, to be honest, in my opinion. So I think he's good enough to go and play elsewhere. And I don't know what age he is, but does he want to sit and play an odd cup game here or there? I think he's at an age where he'll want to go out and try and play. So I think he could go out somewhere and play at Hibs or an Aberdeen or something like that. So I think Bain could be away.
You could see another goalie coming in to be competition for Barkas, maybe to push Barkas a bit. So I could maybe see Bain out the door.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think Bain will stay and they'll sign a number one. So they'll have Bain, Hazard plus a goalie. And I think, as I say, I think Barkas will be away, punted out on loan to Stewarton. No offence to Rab McNaughton, the goalie, but I think he'll be punted out to Stewarton.
Right, we'll go back over to Rangers defence. So James Tavernier, the captain. What we got him?
Keep unless a big offer comes in that's too hard to knock back.
Wilson.
I think if Gerrard stays, he stays. So I'm kind of basing it on that. You know, I think he's done really well this year. I think he'll stay.
Where do you think if a big offer came in, what do you think would be the kind of price they'd be looking at to get for him? Because I've got 8 million written down. I think possibly worth more than that, but
I think maybe 10, 12 max.
You just
talk because he's 29, I think it is as well. If he does go, the team that buy him, that's his kind of last big move, as they say. So they're not going to pay anything extraordinary for him because he's only going to 29. He's going to give you 3-4 years at that club. So.
Yeah. You talk about a player who's came for the lowest you can get. He came in Rangers in the Championship, and now he's potentially going to be the person lifting the league. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's again. I think that's a great point, Scott. Let's be honest. Now, again, you see them more than I. He's had one good season. He's not been great up until this season.
Offensively, there's been holes to pick in, but offensively, I still think he's been very, very good.
I think he's always contributed with assists and stuff like that. But I do agree defensively that the past few seasons, at times I think
to be fair though, I mean, as I say, if they do get a decent, I mean, I'll be honest. Again, I think it all depends who wants to buy you. But I think if you got between 6 and 8, they would sell. And you've got the fella Nathan Patterson coming through, who's excellent, and he's a proper defender fullback. So Again, I don't think he's much of a massive loss because I think there's already a ready-made replacement there, and you're getting some money in as well. So I think if Gerrard stays, he'll stay. But if he goes, then I don't think it's a massive issue because anybody can score 56 penalties in a season.
Calvin Bassey. I think he'll stay.
Yeah,
is he on loan or is he signed?
He's signed.
He'll stay then. He'll stay.
And I'll just come on to the next player just because it fits in with Bassey staying. Barisic.
Again, keep unless you get a big offer. And I think you could get a big offer because I know there's a lot of interest from abroad.
You're not 31 though.
Is he that old?
Is he?
I think that's the number in the back of his top. You're thinking.
Oh, is it?
I think he's old as that. I'm sure he's about. He's only 24.
I think he'll be. No,
is he young? Is he?
No way.
I don't think he's that old.
Mind you, Wilson, all 24-year-olds these days have got old faces on this call.
Well, that is certainly true.
Barisic, I think
28
will stay as well. 28. So Tav's 29. Barisic is 28. Is just one good.
Has got one move
in them. One move. I've
got 15. I've got 15 million written down as a target. I think you could get that for Barisic. I love Barisic. So
I think if he is a good Euros, if he does well with Croatia, the Euros, then it increases his price.
Yeah, that's a big factor.
And you talk about another player who was out the door. I remember the game against Kilmarnock, the last game of the season, and there was Rangers fans I know baying for him to be out the door, and then he turns it round in the summer.
That's the same as Tavernier, though.
Aye, like.
I can remember that game at Kilmarnock. Barisic's deliveries now are so in the one. See, I think it was one each at the point, and he's got the ball and he's floating these ones in. And was it Bachmann at the time?
Daniel Bachmann,
aye.
He was just coming out and collecting it, no bother, like picking apples at a tree, and it was so frustrating. But just I was one of the players that was like, I don't know if he's gonna cut it for us, and what a turnaround it's been. I think
you were playing against the best team in the league that day. No,
was that the bye Rangers and bye Celtic?
Aye, Brophy.
I think Barisic's actually got Jordan Jones a move to Rangers.
Well, right.
The game do you remember the game at Easter Road that season where they drew 0-0? It was absolutely unbelievable that night, and that was when I thought stick by him because you will get the best out of him.
His delivery last week against Motherwell goals, great.
What I said, I don't know if you were listening, when you put 40, 50 crosses into the box, one of them's going to go in the money eventually, isn't it? Right, next one, George Edmondson.
Go.
No. Now they've signed the young centre half for Bournemouth, he'll be away.
I think there could be a couple of defenders going, and we'll touch on the next.
I think Edmondson will still be there.
I just think
there's maybe 21 or something.
The COVID.
He was a big feature in last year. I mean, he played away to Braga, I think, in the last 16. There's obviously a bit of Gerrard kind of trusts him. I know he's kind of messed up this year with the COVID situation and that.
I don't think he's a bad player.
I definitely don't think so.
The only game I thought he was poor was a Hearts game in the Cup last year. I thought he was a howler that game, but apart from that, I think he's been pretty solid. But I just think the COVID situation we saw, obviously Jones as well. He's like my move away. I think there's maybe a bit. You're out the door after that kind of thing.
Katic
stay. I think he'll
still be there next season.
He'll come back
still young enough.
Well, I think if he gets back and plays well, I think someone could buy him. I think he's good.
I like Katic as well.
But again, I think he maybe missed out on a move this year because he's been injured a bit.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Will he beat the Euros? What nationality is he?
Croatian. I don't think he'll make the squad.
He was playing with the kind of 21s, so
I think he could be one if he'd played this season. He'd have got a move.
Yeah, it looks as if he's recovering really well as well.
Yeah, good player. Good player.
Helander.
Keep.
Yeah, I think he'll be there. Yeah, Helander and Goldson, I think will stay.
Yeah.
That's funny. We'll just come on to Goldson now. I think Goldson could leave. I think there'll be teams.
There's a big offer about him. I've got 6 million written down as a target for him.
I don't think he's quick enough to play in the Premiership, and that's the only move. I mean, I know he could go to AC Milan. That's not what I mean, but to leave a team like Rangers, and this annoys me all the time. To leave, and I know it's salaries and whatnot, and playing in a better league, but to leave Rangers to go to Burnley or Sheffield United, but what's the point? You know. Whereas I think play top level. I don't think he's quick enough. I think he's better big fish in a small pond.
Up here in Scotland, we always look at it like, why would you want to go down and play with a team like that in England? But I think English players think different. I just think they think of when they've grown up the Premier League, playing in the Premier League.
Going to Liverpool, and I know that.
Again, going and playing at Old Trafford once a season, I think like they look at that different.
But you could look at it though. Play at Old Trafford, possibly get relegated, or play the Champions League every year.
I know. Who we next? Nathan Patterson, young boy.
He just signed that.
Definitely. Yep. Balogun.
See, because they've signed the centre half. I see because they've signed the guy Harrison for Bournemouth. Do you need Harrison? Possibly sit? Is it Harrison the one they've signed?
Simpson.
Is it Simpson?
Jack Simpson.
Jack Simpson, the one they've signed for
Hart Simpson.
Just because they've signed him makes me think they might. I don't think Balogun's put a foot wrong. I think he's been pretty good. But again, do you want that many centre halves on the wage bill?
I think he'll be there. Wilson.
No, I think he'll go. He'll have Goldson and Helander, the fella from Bournemouth, and he's still get Katic, as you say. Do you need 5 or 6 centre halves?
Mm-hmm.
Not here.
I like Balogun though. I think he's been really good.
Right, seatbelts on for this one. Celtic.
Julian. Yes.
Yeah, I think he will. Yeah.
I think he'll be there. Definitely.
Just because he's recovering from injury as well. But again, I wouldn't have said Frimpong was going if you got a big offer for Julian. But,
I don't think he'd get a big offer.
I don't think he's played enough this year.
If he
would get a big offer for Frimpong.
a full season.
Well, that's true as well.
Aye, definitely. Greg Taylor, MBE.
Yeah, I think he'll be there. Yeah,
I
first
think-
choice left back.
I think a new manager will get the best out of him.
El Hamid.
Not away.
Go.
I think he'll still be there.
No,
for the
I
right back.
think he's
Right back
home.
position.
It's been quite public in the press. I think he wants home. His wife and his kid are at home. Aye, he'll be away.
Young boy Welsh.
Yeah, keep.
I think he could, because we'll come on to it a bit about other players that's going to be in the back line. So I think it could be a chance for him to go and play.
I think it's a big chance for him because I know they're keen to bring him through.
Wilson, what's your thoughts? Your face isn't promising.
Out in loan is his best option.
Could be could get out on loan, but
what I've got another one. Aya, we'll keep the best for last.
Somebody will buy him.
somebody will buy him.
I think he'll be away as well. Right, this is a strange one. I've seen a lot of opinions online about this. Why this player's still at the club. Anthony Ralston.
Yeah,
He's not good. I don't think he's good enough to play for Celtic. I think he's good enough to play.
Signed for Celtic. Why is he still under contract? The new.
He probably after a breakthrough season, he probably signed like a 5-year deal or something. He wouldn't be a big salary or anything. So it's he'll if he's still in contract, but he'll be put out on loan.
Yeah, on loan. Yeah,
somewhere.
Wally Lyle's retiring soon, so it could possibly. That's my
I think you're doing. I don't know Wally Lyle, but I think you're doing him a disservice.
Right, Laxalt, he'll be away.
Away, hopeless.
Just before we touch on Duffy, Jack Henry is out on loan in Belgium. He seems to be doing quite well out in Belgium. Under a new manager, could they possibly come back? I know new managers when Gerrard come in at Rangers, he gave everybody Andy Halliday said he gave everybody a fresh start, took them all to, I think it was Tenerife, and then he kind of made his judgment then. Do you think that could maybe happen when Jack Henry comes back to Celtic? Do you think the new manager, if there is one, will give him a fresh start, or do you think too far gone?
Keep. I don't think he's any worse than what's there already.
I agree with that.
I agree with that.
I don't think. I think, and I've said this all, and I think it's the same with Greg Taylor. I just don't think the punters ever took to him. So every mistake against highlighted and thing. I think they do the same with Greg Taylor.
I think it's because he's Scottish and they expect to see if there's a great performance. Greg Taylor had about 4 or 5 good performances against Celtic for Kilmarnock. Not seen that on a consistent basis for Celtic. I think they're out for your blood pretty quickly. I think that's the same with Rangers fans as well with Scottish players they sign. So I don't think that's.
No. I think he might go have a good career, but I don't think he'll be playing with Celtic.
He might not be good enough, but I think he deserves a shot to see if he.
Do you think mistakes that he made in a Celtic shirt because they were doing so well are highlighted? But if it's him doing the mistakes in this season that what the other players in the Celtic defence, etc., have made, of just because how bad they've been doing, it's just almost running the mill and accepting it. But his mistakes were highlighted so much because there wasn't much going wrong at the time.
Yeah. I thought I'd agree with that. Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
Right. And just quickly, Ben Davis is a pre-contract, so that kind of almost says that there will be a few going out the door. You'd think, because he'll come in and start at the back. You would imagine. Midfield, Rangers.
Just before you go any further, are we definitely sure that they're not signing Shane Duffy permanently?
Oh, I forgot about Duffy. He's.
I think there's more chance of me and you being the Celtic centre half than Shane Duffy.
Again, as you say though, I mean, does a new manager come in and think? But I think he is on loan anyway, so I wouldn't have thought the punters won't allow it.
I think that was send Celtic fans over the edge. No, it was a full.
You're sorry, wasn't it? Like,
I think that would send Celtic fans over the edge.
I agree.
If they signed him permanently.
Right, Duffy's out. Hadji will be at Rangers next year.
Again, there was talk of interest for Napoli and kind of Roma as well, wasn't there? There was talk.
As a tour guide. He's hopeless. He's absolutely
think
hopeless.
I've got him down. I've got him down
I
as
think
potentially.
recently-
I think
He's doing
recently
really well.
is he not second assist? Second for assists.
Mhm.
There's a player there,
Recently-
Wilson.
Recently, he's been doing really well.
I'm telling you, as a player. I've got him as
Ryan
8 million. If you get 8 million for him, sell him.
you Rangers will have to put a 5-a-side team in next year if all these players are getting sold for you, Scott.
I think that's what.
Right.
But when was the last time we've been saying that about Rangers though? They've got
I know.
assets to sell.
We need to balance the books somehow. Ryan Jack will be there next year.
Yeah.
Possibly
He'll be the
captain
next.
if
He'll be the next
Tav
captain.
goes away.
He'll be the next captain.
Stephen Davis is almost in the same boat as McGregor. Do you think this could be his last year?
Yeah,
Going into
he'll
the
retire
high?
for me.
Think so?
It's not as
Yeah.
if he's no played where he's only playing a handful of games and he's like, Ken, I'm not enjoying this, playing a handful of games. He's been arguably probably one of the best midfielders in the country this season for his age at 35. 35 years old. He's not as old as McGregor. I think he's got a couple of years in him. I think he's let's say similar to McGregor. He could go to the highs. He's had a magnificent career and he's come back to Rangers and done really well this season. So I think Davis will still be there because I think he's still got that in him, but maybe not guaranteed to play as much as what he has done this year.
I still think he's fit.
Oh, he is. There's no.
I still
denying
think
that.
he's after. See when he come back, I thought he's got 1 season in him at the most. But now I look.
His
he
first
could play-
game at Rugby Park. I seen his first game at Rugby Park when they come back.
Aye,
And Rangers played a diamond, I think, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my god, man! I just judged him straight away because it was his first game. I'm like,
Mhm.
he's not going to do, but he just can prove me wrong. Obviously.
Again, I think he'll be another one like McGregor. If as long as he wants to play, he'll be there.
Yep. Aribo.
Keep.
Yeah, he's
I think you've
definitely
got. I think you've got a future prize asset there.
there. Wilson's face. Arfield will still be there.
Yeah.
He'll be
I
there
think-
as long as he
I
wants.
think he'll finish his career.
Career,
to be
yeah.
honest.
Agree with that.
Glenn Kamara. I think he could be away. I think he said that.
Yeah.
One of probably the standout for me this year, Glenn Kamara, and I think I don't know what age he is, but I think he could play for a top team. Really do.
See if
50 grand to get him for surely if you only paid 50 for him.
that'll
That's
be
the
down.
thing. That'll get done is probably one of the best bit of
Oh,
business
but
in the club's history.
That'll be one of the best bit of businesses in transfer history. Because you could easily get 7-8 million for him, maybe more.
I think you could get more. I think
you could
you
get
could
more.
get 10 million for him, but
That's what I was saying to you at the start though. It's because he's coming for Rangers, you know, and again the financial issues aren't what they were, but I think as you say, 7-8 million, you know, you bite your hand off for that. He's not going to go for 20-25, you know.
Zungu and Lowen will Rangers make that permanent? I don't see it. I know he's maybe been unfortunate. The team's done so well this year that he's not had a sniff at
Is
in
there
the
not?
team really. Gerrard's brought him on and off. I don't know if there's a clause in his contract
think
where
there is.
it's
I
a
think there's
loan to buy or
I think
whatever.
there is. I put down Keep, but only because of that. I don't think he's been that bad. I think he's been actually pretty good. Can wee cameos he's had, but you haven't seen enough to say we need to go. Rangers need to go and sign him.
That's,
You know what I mean?
I think he could. One of the reasons I think he could be there is because maybe Glenn Kamara could go.
possibly,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Greg Stewart and Jordan Jones were going to do this one together. I think both of them. There's not played enough, not enough minutes. Both came, and a lot of fans were kind of wary of them to start with. Are they good enough for Rangers and where Rangers want to go? And they've not featured enough. Obviously, Jones has got a Sunderland and loan. It looks like it'll be a loan, and then it'll probably be either contract termination or a small sum of money. I would imagine Greg Stewart will be away as well.
Greg Stewart will be probably down in Ayrshire because
That's the dream.
Your man will
We're
be
not
making a
dream.
campaign video.
We're not looking for any forwards.
Number 10.
I don't think you could be far away.
Kumala need a player like that though, right now.
Yeah, definitely.
I think they need 11 players like that just now, to be honest.
I think they need a player that's been there and done it.
Well, I've got Jones, Stewart, and Barker all the way.
So
out
yeah,
loan.
so far.
I've got Barker still there. I think Gerrard likes him.
I think he'll go on loan. I think he'll go on loan to play.
I think Gerrard likes him, and I think he thinks there's a player there. I'm kind of on the fence with that one. It could go either way. I think any time that there's a chance to play him, Gerrard brings him on or he starts him. He started him in the Old Firm away to Celtic, so there's obviously some he likes of him there.
Yeah, aye.
But
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if he was still there.
We'll move on to Celtic midfield. I think there could be a lot of outgoings in the midfield.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll start with Beaton. I think Beaton could be away.
So there.
No, I think he'll stay.
Think so?
I've got the ones I would. Well, I think who'll be there will be Rogic, McGregor, Beaton, and Brown and Cham, El Yunusi be away.
I've got Sorrow to stay, Turnbull.
Sorrow as well. Turnbull to stay.
Sorrow, Turnbull, Connell, Henderson, and McGregor with a big question mark.
See, the only just with the thing with Beaton, I just think. See, I know this. They don't really want to talk about this in the show because it's football, but see the thing with the family and all that abuse like that. I mean, is he sitting thinking, is this really worth it? It seems like a kind of potential move to like some mad country for crazy money. Like I don't see him going. I don't see him going to a better and bigger club than Celtic, to be honest. Scott Brown, I think it'll be one of the ones. I think he could maybe get a year, but something to do with the club, or you'll not play as much or whatever. I'll be surprised if he just goes out.
I think you'll see Scott Brown. I think you'll see Scott Brown as assistant manager for Celtic next season.
But can I have a drink of what you've been drinking today?
Right, if you're a Celtic,
capacity.
I think Scott Brown will be the Celtic. Maybe not assistant manager, but he'll certainly be part of the coaching staff.
Celtic have to learn from this than just giving jobs for the boys because he played a long time. I mean, what's John Kennedy's legacy at Celtic?
I think he's a kit man next year now.
Well, exactly. So it needs a clear out and a fresh start.
I totally agree, but I still think they'll be that way.
Brown will retire. Thanks for your efforts. Brown will be away.
Brown will be. I think he'll still be at the club.
Sorrow, Turnbull, Henderson, they're all going to be there.
Yeah, they'll all be there. Yeah.
Build the midfield around Sorrow and Turnbull. That's what I would think.
Yeah. We'll leave McGregor to last. Forrest will be there. I think Forrest will be one of the many. He's just going to be there. Mikey Johnson, I think he'll be there. I think they really, really like him at Celtic. And I think Stuart no
turn him down.
They signed Slammer instead.
They signed Boris Johnson.
Oh my God! No, Mikey Johnson will be put out on loan.
I think so.
Yeah, it's not good enough. Not good enough.
Kilmarnock, he'll be Kilmarnock.
Oh, we'll take him there. Absolutely, good enough for Kilmarnock.
This is who I think will be away from the midfield. I think Christie, Rogic, and Cham and El Yunusi will be away.
Yeah, I think Christie's pretty much.
Yeah, that's the four I've got this away as well.
I've got. If you get loan players as well, if you put down I've got Shved and Bolingoli in that away as well.
I just Bolingoli away. And I've put Welsh, Ayeti, Barkas and Ralston to be there but out on loan out the road. I
just kind of picked the ones that I've kind of featured most this season. I forgot about players in loan and that, to be honest.
Yeah, I've got Cham as well.
And Cham I think could go back to France. Play there.
He's a loss, by the way. I think he's a very good footballer.
He's a really good player, but it's as if when he wants to be.
I think he suffered playing in there with Scott Brown. If you know what I mean, I think if he'd been given Scott Brown's role, like on the pitch, I think he'd have been an excellent player. But it just has to happen for him, in spells.
Callum McGregor, lastly, we'll touch
club
on him.
Captain.
I think that you could see him taking over as a captain with Brown no maybe playing as much or maybe going on to a coaching role in some capacity. But then there's another thing. Does Callum McGregor want to go and test himself? Does he want to gone out this season after he'll not get the Tierney treatment, as we say. Tierney left before this 10 in a row and get slandered basically. McGregor could leave at the end of the season and almost some people will go, well, who would blame him? Kind of type thing. I think McGregor could go and play in Brendan Rodgers' Leicester team.
I think that I wouldn't be surprised if there's some talk of that in the summer. But again, I think he's probably the natural successor to Brown.
I totally agree with you. But on the other side of it, I can't. McGregor, what more can McGregor go and achieve at Celtic? No,
Yeah.
he's won everything. Like what? The only reason he stays is if he wants to be there for the rest of his career, because he'll not got a better chance to leave than he would the now.
No, I've got him down here 10 million. You could get more than that. Wilson thinks the sun shines out his backside.
I think you could get more than 10 million for McGregor, to be honest.
No. I've got
25 million.
Forwards. Move on to forwards at Rangers. I've got down who'll be here is Itten, Kent, Roof and Defoe. I think they'll be here. I think Morelos could get sold in the summer. What do you think?
I would get rid of Morelos now. I've said that for a season.
No,
I would get rid of. I think Morelos is weirdly. The summer I was advocating for him to go because I don't think he was loose cannons, maybe the wrong term, but I just don't think you can rely on Alfredo Morelos. I don't think he's been that good that season, to be honest. I know there's been glimpses, he's been brilliant, but I wouldn't say he's been out and out outstanding this season.
We'll come back to Morelos in 2 minutes. There's been a comment asking if that is Mark Wilson or Paul O'Grady on the night show by Johnny Sinclair. Brilliant, Johnny.
Also, he's asked as well. That's a brilliant question. This is the question everybody wants to know. What was Mark Wilson's last game in charge of Galston United Football Club?
That was a great story. Well, let's finish Shanker's bit and then I'll tell you that story. I'll tell you that story at the end.
Wilson, what's your thoughts on Morelos? Think he could go away in the summer?
I certainly think his values declined from what he was, but I don't know. Again, I just thought maybe the other night there highlighted the good and the bad of him. I still think he'll go, and I've got Defoe down as retiring as well. I don't think Defoe will be there.
I've got Defoe as retiring. I've got moving into the coaching staff.
Eaton, Kent, and Roof still there, and I've actually got Morelos still there because. Again, when he was at peak, I think they should have cashed in. I think that's probably what some of the issues were.
Yeah, so do I.
And you know, when he kind of went off a bit of form, I think he went on a wee bit of weight and he kind of fell out a wee bit. But as I said, does he want a crack at the Champions League? Because he's been excellent in Europe. Let's not forget that. Mm-hmm. And it's maybe suited to him playing that kind of European style and way. So I think he'll be there, but I think Defoe will retire as well.
Yeah. I've got Defoe still there, but I'm the same with you. I can see him still being involved in the club some way because I think Morelos' game has improved, and I don't think it's any hidden secret that it's because Defoe has been at the club, obviously working in stuff and training and that. I think that's made him, because see with him dropping deep and trying to take the ball and all that wasn't the player he was, but he started bringing that into his game.
I've spoken to a couple of people at the club and they think the world of Defoe as a coach.
Aye, so see that kind of says everything. Celtic, I have Griffiths, Ajeti and Klimala still there. Just based on the figures that they've paid for Ajeti and Klimala, I think they'll have to justify try to give them a run because I think it's inevitable Edouard's going to leave in the summer. So that's why I've got Griffiths, Ajeti and Klimala still there.
I've got Griffiths and Ajeti. Klimala, I don't think he's good enough to be there. Edouard, I think, is an absolute set. I would say that's the guarantee of the summer. Yeah, I would say that's a guarantee of the summer, but Edouard will be away.
Realistically, how much do you think Celtic can get for Odsonne Edouard?
I've got 25 million.
I don't think he'll be far away at that.
I think he's a better player than Dembele.
big statement.
I just think he's a better player. I just think he's better to watch than Dembele. His ball control's better, faster. I think he's a better finisher than Dembele, to be honest with you.
I think Dembele's more consistent.
Yeah,
Dembele's attitude was better.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But I just think when Edouard turns it on, I think he's a far better player. Not a far better player than Dembele, but I think he's better to watch than Dembele.
Wilson, Griffiths, what's your thoughts?
I've got Griffiths away.
Oh,
I've got Klimala away.
Number 9.
No, I think he'll do the old back to Hibs kind of route. I've got Klimala away. I've got Ajeti out on loan because they've paid money for him. He must be in a comfy deal. So he'll go to I don't know, Miss Blown or Turbolton on loan maybe. And so I've really only got, I think Forrest is the only forward player left because Eddie's going to go. I would think 25 plus would be maybe more than achievable for that. I think he's a good player. But as I say, there needs to be, and a striker's always your kind of marquee signing as such. There needs to be someone brought in that's going to sell season tickets.
Between Ajeti and Klimala, that's about maybe £8-9 million there.
Mm-hmm.
So surely they have to justify that by giving them at least a run in the team. They weren't going to play them this year because how can you start any of them in front of Edouard? I think maybe Celtic were based their signings, as it was said before in a previous show, to go 3-5-2. Mm-hmm. So obviously Edouard's away now. Edouard's going to go away in the summer. I think that's a given. So surely they have to justify their price tag by playing them. But
I think they'll just put it under the pass regime. If someone with experience comes in, they'll just say, get rid of him, get rid of him, get rid of him. I don't care how you do it, but get rid of him. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to bring in more players.
I think Ajeti could be interesting next year. I think you could see a far better player than you've seen this season. I think it's another one like Barkas. Give him time to settle in. I think you could get a player there.
There was a point in the season where he was scoring quite a few games in a row, and then you're thinking, is there a player there? But I think Lennon came out and says that him and Klimala weren't fit enough.
Klimala, I just don't think Klimala's good enough.
Crap. That'll do us. But I think no matter what, I think everybody can all agree on that there'll be plenty outs and ins in the summer. It'll be interesting to see how both squads kind of line up and shape up come the summer.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, brilliant. Wilson, you want to ask?
No, I was just telling my page you're onto the managers.
Are you doing the manager's statement? Or? No,
I was just discussing who'll be there and who won't be there. I was kind of.
I'm sorry to do this. I need to go to the toilet.
Can you wait 5 minutes? Then we'll finish, Shankers. Just wait 5 minutes.
We'll cut. Right. We'll finish at 5:30.
Right. Okay.
We don't need to.
No, I just turned the page. As I say, I just think if it was me, the likes of McGregor, Davis, and again we mentioned it right back at the start, having a legacy and leaving when the time's right. I think that the time would be right because the last thing, as I say, get at the champion, maybe not making the Champions League and whatnot, and possibly a new manager and things. So I say it's all lifts and buts just now, but Shankers is right in terms of I think there'll be a big turnover of players at both teams and possibly managers.
We'll touch on the kind of runners and riders for the Celtic job if and when Neil Lennon leaves the position, which we fully expect. Any names you think could be in contention?
Again, I think all folks seem to think straight away of guys that are not in a job, whereas surely Celtic needs to have the pull just to go and take a manager from a team. And I just think possibly at the moment Celtic need an old head, just someone with a bit of experience. Because I think the ship needs steadied, and as I say, I think someone that's got plenty of contact, and even bringing in several players on loan just to tighten the ship and start to try and provide a challenge, because this year's not even been a challenge. It's not as if they've been unlucky here and there. They're 23 points behind or something, Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult. And as I say, I chucked a few names before. You know, when we mentioned like Eddie Howe and all these guys. I genuinely don't know. But as I say, I think Celtic maybe need to go and look. Now, I know obviously because he lost his job this week, Frank Lampard was linked and all that. And does he see
what the Celtic manager than Frank Lampard?
Well, exactly, but I'm saying, does he see what Gerrard's done, etc.? You know, are they going to go down that route? Like just somebody that's finished playing, like Wayne Rooney's went round the derby.
That would be a massive gamble, though, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But I think everything's a gamble now, and that's why I'm saying I think going to get some experience just to steady the ship a bit, you know, and try you know, start the season well and close the gap slightly.
I've got an interesting one here. Alec Neil.
Nah, not for me.
It's not selling 60,000 season tickets.
But I was going to say that's not getting the fans back on board, if in my opinion.
But how do you get fans back in? What's the sort of name you go for, Shankers?
Right, I've got 3 names in here. Lampard was one of them. The only reason I think that I could possibly is he needs to basically get his stock back up again.
Yeah,
he's not going to somebody like Chelsea. It's hard to see another team in England at that level taking him foreign. Can't I see it? You know, going foreign. I think going to see like Rodgers. I know he was far more experienced, but Rodgers left the Liverpool post. Knew he needed to regroup. Went up to Celtic, did brilliant. Now he's done it. Got his move back to the Premier League, and he's doing fantastic with Leicester. So that's the only reason I think Lampard could possibly be in with a shout. I've got Eddie Howe, which is an obvious name. It's been on the names of the Celtic fans' lips for a wee while now. The last one, I don't think anybody that I've heard speaking about the Celtic manager's job has said this name. And it's interesting with Wilson saying experienced, an old head, somebody maybe knows the league, knows the players. After the Euros, Steve Clarke doesn't need to do any more than what he's done. Got Celtic to the Euros. Got Scotland to the Euros. He's not going to really do any better. Maybe have a crack at the World Cup, aye. But if he goes and does well in the Euros, well as in gets out the group and gets to the last 16, why could you not see Steve Clarke going as a Celtic manager after the Euros?
I mean,
he knows the league. He's proven in the league with Kelly.
When he was at the biggest team in the league for a couple of years, I thought that would be the natural step to go.
I thought that as well.
But again, I think you had a bit of an issue in terms of the bigotry that was suffered, you know, a couple of games, and I think he had a bit of a kind of meltdown about it, and he's thinking, what's the point? At whatever age he is, you know, once he's done the Scotland gig, does he really want to go back to that? And you know, being the Celtic Rangers manager must come with, you know, baggage and pressure. So again, yeah, money talks and, you know, success. But I think it's maybe just passed him by. I think if he was going to take it, he'd have taken it when Rodgers left. If he was, I don't know if he was offered it or not. But I think he's done, you know, reasonably well with Scotland. I think he'll have a crack at the World Cup qualifiers. And then if we get there, great. And then he would sail out into retirement after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that as well. I can see. There's not many other names I don't think Benitez. I don't think they can afford Benitez.
No.
That's
just newspaper talk.
Mm-hmm.
Then you
I think see if you were a gambling man, I think it would have been good for Benitez to get talked up about the job, because he went into 1-6 and Eddie Howe started drifting out in price. So I think that's more realistic. Eddie Howe. I think he's more the realistic option. I think there was a leaked document and then it got everybody talking. But I think Benitez is I think that's out his comfort zone almost to a certain extent.
I think he'll be back at Newcastle.
You couldn't be wrong with that.
The only thing I think is, do they need to do it now? Do they need to bring in a manager right now, or can they afford to wait to the end of the season?
The season's a write-off. They just need to wait and get the right person. So if it means, just say, for example, I threw Sean Dyche's name in, you know, the hat last week. if they just wait to the end of the season, but they've obviously tipped him off and offered them, and then do it. So you're starting thinking of players, etc. already. I don't think they'll wait till the end of the season then start looking. I think they're already actively seeking a new manager.
Yeah.
See, just with Law's contract not coming up to the 31st, Law's not going to go and sack his mate Lennon with 6 months to go. They're both going to go to the end of the season together.
At the same time,
That's what's going to happen. That's what that told me. If Law was going to still be there in the future, he would sack Lennon now after the review and get a proper manager in. But if he's gone at the end of the season, he's like, well, almost, I'll just see the season out as well as what Lennon is. He's not going to make a major decision like that at this stage of the season, is he?
No.
Knowing that he's going away.
That's that time we wrap it up. We'll wrap it up now.
I thought you were going to talk about Cosgrove.
I will mention Cosgrove really quickly. Sam Cosgrove looks as if he's going to Birmingham for £2 million. I think the guy who's bid £2 million for Sam Cosgrove should be sacked. I know I'm
is that are they looking to sign Nisbet or Cosgrove or both?
Well, that's what I
would say,
because I had done there was somebody, some reporter, and it wasn't like a hoax post. It was for an official reporter. Nisbet was a £2 million bid for Birmingham as well. So
that's what I thought.
Kevin Nisbet's worth £2 million. He's comfortably. Sam Cosgrove's worth nowhere near £2 million.
Who do you think? Say it was one or the other. Who do you think is a better option for Birmingham?
Kevin Nisbet's a far better player than Sam Cosgrove.
I think for that league, though, that league, I think Cosgrove's probably a better option because everyone in that league's a giant.
I think Kevin Nisbet. See him the other night. I think he still looks like I don't know what age. I think he still looks like a kind of skinny young boy. You know what I mean? Like there's some right good physical players in that championship. I think Cosgrove's a better option than.
He's a unit. He's an absolute unit.
Mm-hmm.
They might sign both,
No,
big guy, wee guy, They might sign both.
Some business for Aberdeen, though, to get £2 million for him.
Definitely.
And again, Porteous as well. My wee pal Ryan Porteous could be away to Millwall for £1 million. Again, never ever seen that. No, it was
out of the blue.
But young,
surprised at that.
Wins headers, physical. That's that type of league, the Championship. You play 175 games a season down there. So I think you do okay down there. I think a world beater, but
yeah,
I think him and the supporters would get on well. Both horrible people.
I tell you what, it maybe shows you the situation that Hibs are in.
Right.
And as I say, I think a lot of Celtic fans might be relieved at Hibs' results recently because I think Jack Ross's name is mentioned the Celtic job.
I know.
And then that semi-final defeat, and then the performance of the night was abject to say the least.
Just as well, just a quick thing before we wrap up, we'll touch on Kilmarnock with you quickly, Wilson. Another disappointing defeat away to Livingston. Do you think Alex Dyer is under a bit of pressure again?
To be honest, I think the whole club's under pressure. I saw the things last week about maybe needing a loan from the government, to see out the season. Results and performances haven't been great. And I saw from some social media pages today the punters are well on his case. I think Andy Millen came out and said something today about they only had 4 recognised subs, the rest were young boys that are no good enough. And I don't think that helps either with PR. And you always take it harder. See when you lose goals in the last minute and everything. I think if he'd got a draw at Livingston, well, okay, a draw away at Livingston, fair enough, but to lose 2 goals in the last couple of minutes just keeps the pressure on him. And as I say, it's worrying. It's worrying times. Again, I think there's a bit of an injury list as well. I think James Fowler came out and said something through the week that Stuart Finley's in the same situation as Eamon Brophy, which kind of indicated that someone was going to come and take him. And I say, definitely all's not well, but I definitely. He wouldn't be the manager come the new season. Whether they pulled it, is it 29th of January? Is it worth pulling the trigger just now for a new manager to come in and have to work with what he's got? Or do they just wait? Do they just see the season out and wait and see?
See, just on the money thing, obviously you said about Kilmarnock struggling with money. I know this wouldn't save Kilmarnock with money. What is your opinion on likes of Kilmarnock no giving away 2 stands at Rugby Park to Old Firm to recoup money? Do you think that's a good idea? Can I maybe gives them more of a chance of going and beating an Old Firm team. But would you rather go and beat an Old Firm team? But beating Old Firm isn't going to decide your fate at the end of the season. So surely the money and the income that will be 4 matches for the Old Firm, surely that money could go a long way compared to just.
I've been very vocal about this to other Kilmarnock fans, and from a business point of view, I thought it was absolutely bonkers. I was a great believer, and I know we all buy our season tickets and that's your seat, etc., etc. But see with the current situation Scottish football's in, see when the Old Firm come to town, I would try and get as many Kilmarnock fans into possibly 2 sections and sell the ground out, make as much money as you can. Because
Johnson done something similar to that.
I don't think it has any impact, because Hamilton, St Mirren, Hibs, they've all been to Ibrox or Parkhead and won, with 50,000 home fans. So I don't think the atmosphere. Now I have spoke to some of my mates and that have says I don't take the kids, to the Celtic Rangers games at Rugby Park because of the songs they're singing, the behaviour of fans and all that. But from running a business, as I say, to take that, I mean, I've calculated it's probably £500,000 a season.
Yeah.
And as I say, from a business point of view, it was bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
Can I just touch on something? I'm on the comments of the live stream, and somebody, Alistair Pascali Shields, called it. Do you know him? He's commented something. Andy Millen is a bad egg within the coaching staff, and I know Andy personally because he was at Ayr when I worked there. I couldn't disagree anymore. Andy Millen's one of the. He's one of the nicest guys you can meet, but he's one of the best coaches as well. He's a real good coach. So I don't think that. I don't agree with the comment that he made. He says we practically only had 4 subs all night there because the young boys filled the bench. I don't agree with that, but I don't think he's a bad egg in the dressing room. Definitely don't. I think if you went round and asked all the Kilmarnock players if they liked Andy Millen, I guarantee every one of them would say they like Andy Millen.
I mean, I don't know. I think possibly some Kelly fans may think, well, he played with us and he kind of left a bad taste when he left Kilmarnock as a player. He was very vocal about the criticism of Alex Totten when Alex Totten got the job, and then he's obviously got he worked with Ayr United before he came back. As I say, I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs and all that. I think his comments ill-timed when we are under pressure in terms of finances.
I don't agree with the comments. I don't know
think he's a bad egg in the dressing room. I always tend to think the bad eggs in the dressing room are players, not an assistant manager.
No, definitely.
Because it's the assistant manager in effect that will be sacked, not the players.
Alex Dyer's a clever enough guy to realise who he's coaching staff for. He wouldn't be assistant manager at Kilmarnock if he thought he was a bad egg. I know that obviously that he's an older guy and he was involved in FITBA years ago when it's totally changed to what it is nowadays. So I can see the old style affect how you would perceive that for the outside. But I definitely, just speaking firsthand for working with myself, he is a really good guy. And he's one of Andy Millen's one of the guys. See a player would run through a brick wall for a guy like Andy Millen just because the type of guy and the type of coach is. Yeah, honestly, I couldn't have any higher praise to say about Andy Millen, so I don't agree with that.
And as I say, when Andy Millen was at Kilmarnock, Andy Millen was a very good player.
Yeah,
a very, very good player at Kilmarnock.
Love him.
See when he was about 46, he played. I think he was assistant manager at Queen of the South, and we were playing down there in a reserve match, and I was about 15 or 16 up front, and he played centre half. He was 46, and he booted lumps at you all game. So he did, and he was still fit as a fiddle. I don't even think I could buy him.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. But that'll do us for this episode. I just want to thank Wilson for coming back as well, and Shank, has been an absolute pleasure as always.
Good figures through the roof tonight with Wilson back. The fans' favourite.
one. That's my mum.
We'll be back on Sunday as well with a special with Hugh McDonald, the well-known journalist as well. So tune into that. We're really excited to do that one. But thanks very much to everyone who tuned in and sent questions over, and we'll be back soon. Thanks very much, everyone. Cheers.